The morning started like any other for Judge Lily Chen. She arrived at the courthouse by 7:30, coffee in hand, nodding to familiar faces as she made her way to her chambers. The weight of her black robe felt comfortable after 12 years on the bench. Today's docket was filled with the usual: 2 drunk driving cases, a petty theft, and 3 child support enforcement hearings. Another day of trying to get parents to take care of their kids, she sighed, flipping through the afternoon files. Lily had earned a reputation for being tough but fair when it came to child support cases. Growing up with a single mom who worked 3 jobs to make ends meet had shaped her view on parental responsibility. She'd watched her mother struggle to put food on the table while her father lived comfortably several states away, sending birthday cards but never money. "Your 10 o'clock is canceled," said Tom, her clerk, poking his head through the door. "The parties reached an agreement this morning." "That's something at least," Lily replied, reaching for the next file. "What's first for the afternoon?" "The Anderson case. Father hasn't paid support in 6 years, almost $90,000 in arrears." Lily shook her head. "Let me guess. Claims he can't afford it while posting vacation photos on social media." Tom laughed. "How did you know?" "Seen it 100 times," she said, opening the file. The morning passed quickly. By lunchtime, Lily had cleared half her docket, eating a sandwich at her desk while reviewing the afternoon cases. The Anderson file was thick with motions, continuances, and failed payment agreements, the classic signs of someone working hard to avoid responsibility. At 1:30 sharp, Lily entered the courtroom. The familiar routine followed. Everyone, rising, the bailiff announcing her entrance, the formal opening of the session. She settled into her chair, adjusted her glasses, and nodded to the prosecutor. "The State versus Robert Anderson, case number 2025 CV 4872, failure to pay child support," announced the court recorder. Lily glanced up from her papers as the defendant was brought in. Her heart seemed to stop mid-beat. The man standing at the defense table wasn't a stranger. The years had added gray to his temples and lines around his eyes, but she would recognize him anywhere. It was David Anderson, not just any deadbeat dad, but her cousin Rita's ex-husband, who had walked out 11 years ago, leaving Rita with a 3-year-old son and a mountain of debt. David didn't seem to recognize her immediately. Why would he? The last time they'd been in the same room, Lily had been finishing law school. Her hair was different now, her face more lined with age and responsibility. Plus, people rarely looked closely at judges. Something about the robe made them avoid direct eye contact. Lily's mind raced. Should she recuse herself? Ethically, she probably should. But the courthouse was short-staffed today, with 2 judges out sick. Rescheduling would mean another 6-week delay for the mother trying to collect what she was owed. The prosecutor began presenting the case. "Your Honor, Mr. Anderson has failed to make consistent child support payments since 2019. Despite having steady employment as a contractor, he has paid less than $8,000 over 6 years, while earning an estimated $70,000 annually." Lily maintained her professional expression, but inside, memories flooded back. Rita crying at the kitchen table, wondering how to pay for her son's asthma medication. Lily helping her cousin move to a smaller apartment they could afford on one income. The birthday parties where little Joey asked why his dad never came. Mr. Anderson claims inability to pay. The prosecutor continued. "Yet our investigation has uncovered evidence of multiple vacations, a boat purchase, and regular cash deposits to an account not disclosed in his financial affidavits." The defense attorney, a young man in an expensive suit that his client somehow afforded while claiming poverty, stood up. "Your Honor, my client has faced significant hardships, including health issues that prevented consistent employment. We have prepared a payment plan that would allow him to—" "Health issues?" the prosecutor interrupted, holding up a stack of papers. "We have photos from the defendant's public social media showing him water skiing last month, Your Honor." The courtroom tittered with nervous laughter. Lily tapped her gavel once, silencing the room. It was during this exchange that David finally looked directly at her. His eyes widened almost imperceptibly, a flash of recognition crossing his face. He leaned over, whispering something to his attorney, who frowned in response. "Your Honor," the defense attorney said carefully, "my client is wondering if perhaps you might have a conflict of interest in this case." The courtroom fell silent. Lily felt every eye on her. She took a deep breath, her judicial training kicking in despite the personal shock. "Counsel, approach the bench," she said, her voice steady. Both attorneys stepped forward. "Mr. Anderson believes he recognizes me," Lily said quietly. "He's correct. His former brother-in-law was married to my cousin. However, I have no direct connection to this case or the current complainant. Under judicial ethics guidelines, this level of connection does not automatically require recusal." The prosecutor nodded. The defense attorney looked uncertain. "That said," Lily continued, "I understand the concern. If your client wishes to formally request I recuse myself, that is his right. However, the next available date for this hearing would be 6 weeks from now, and the complainant has already waited years for resolution." The defense attorney returned to his client. More whispered conversation followed. Lily could see David, calculating. A delay might benefit him, but drawing attention to their connection would mean admitting he had abandoned another family before this one. Finally, the attorney returned. "We're comfortable proceeding, Your Honor." Lily nodded, knowing David had made his choice based on self-interest, not ethics. It fit his pattern. As the hearing continued, evidence mounted against David. Bank statements showed regular deposits. Social media posts contradicted claims of poverty. A former employer testified about cash payments made at David's request to avoid garnishment. Through it all, Lily maintained perfect judicial composure. No one watching would know that behind her calm questions and careful note-taking, she was remembering the Christmas when Rita couldn't afford presents, or the night she held her cousin while she cried over yet another broken promise to Joey. By 4 o'clock, the evidence portion had concluded. Lily knew she faced a difficult decision. The law was clearly on the complainant's side, but her personal connection complicated matters. As she prepared to call a brief recess to consider her ruling, the courtroom door opened. A young man slipped into the back row. Though she hadn't seen him in several years, Lily immediately recognized Joey, Rita's son, now a teenager. Somehow he had heard about the case. Their eyes met briefly, and he gave her a small nod. In that moment, Lily understood that what happened next wasn't just about one man avoiding his responsibilities. It was about breaking a pattern that destroyed families. It was about showing Joey that sometimes, eventually, justice catches up. "Court will recess for 15 minutes, she announced, rising from her seat. The real challenge was just beginning. Judge Lily Chen sat in her chambers, fingers pressed against her temples. The 15-minute recess wouldn't be nearly enough time to process the shock of seeing David Anderson in her courtroom. She'd heard stories about him over the years, how, after leaving Rita, he had moved to Colorado, then Florida, always one step ahead of responsibility. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Tom, her clerk, entered with a concerned look. "You okay, Judge? You seemed a bit thrown in there." Lily hesitated, then decided honesty was best. "The defendant, I know him. Not directly related to this case, but he left. My cousin and their son years ago. Never paid a dime in support for them either." Tom whistled softly. "That's complicated. Are you going to recuse?" "I don't know," Lily admitted. "Legally, I probably don't have to. This case isn't about my family, but it feels personal," Tom finished for her. Lily nodded. "I need to check something. Can you pull up any other cases in the system with David Anderson as a defendant?" Tom typed quickly on the computer. After a moment, his eyebrows shot up. "Whoa. What is it?" Lily moved to look over his shoulder. 3 separate cases in 3 different states. All child support enforcement. All with different women. Lily felt her stomach tighten. He's made this his life pattern. The computer screen showed court documents from Colorado, Florida, and now here. Each case featured the same pattern: initial compliance with support orders, followed by moved addresses, changed phone numbers, and eventually complete disappearance. He's got 5 kids altogether that we know of, Tom said, scrolling through the files, and he's paid less than 10% of what he owes to any of them. Lily checked her watch. 10 minutes of recess left. Print everything. I need to know what we're dealing with. When Lily returned to the courtroom, she saw David leaning casually against the defense table, chatting with his attorney. The mother in the case, Nancy Winters, sat stiffly on the prosecution side, her shoulders tense. 2 school photos were visible on the table in front of her, a boy around 12 and a girl maybe 8 or 9. Lily took her seat, feeling the weight of her robe differently now. She'd always seen it as a symbol of fairness, of putting aside personal feelings. Today it felt like armor. Court is back in session, she announced. Before we continue with closing arguments, I have some questions for the defendant. David straightened up, his expression carefully neutral. Mr. Anderson, you testified earlier that circumstances beyond your control prevented you from making support payments. Would you care to elaborate on those circumstances? David nodded, clearing his throat. Yes, Your Honor. I've had health problems that made consistent work impossible. Then the pandemic hit my industry hard. I've wanted to support my kids, but your kids, Lily interrupted. How many children do you have, Mr. Anderson? David paused, momentarily thrown. I have 2 with Ms. Winters. Only 2? Total? The defense attorney frowned. Your Honor, I'm not sure of the relevance. I'm establishing a pattern of behavior, Counselor, Lily said firmly. Mr. Anderson, are you aware that this court has the ability to access records from other jurisdictions? A flicker of alarm crossed David's face before he regained his composure. Of course. Then let me rephrase. How many children have you fathered, for whom you've been ordered to pay child support? The courtroom fell silent. Nancy Winters leaned forward slightly, her eyes narrowing. 3, David finally said. 3? Lily held up the stack of papers Tom had printed. These records show 5 children with 3 different mothers across 4 states, Mr. Anderson. And that's not including my cousin Rita's son, which makes 6. She hadn't planned to mention Rita, but the words slipped out. David's face paled. You're keeping track of all your children, aren't you? Lily continued. Just not financially supporting them. The defense attorney stood up. Your Honor, this line of questioning seems prejudicial and outside the scope of today's hearing. On the contrary, Lily replied, it speaks directly to the defendant's credibility and pattern of behavior. She turned back to David. When you left Colorado owing $30,000 in support, you told the court you were unemployed. Yet during that same period, you purchased a boat in Florida. How do you explain that? David shifted uncomfortably. That was a different situation. Different how? Because it was a different woman you left holding the bag. Different children going without? The defense attorney was on his feet again. Your Honor, we request a chambers conference immediately. Lily nodded. Granted. Attorneys, please approach. In her chambers, David's attorney wasted no time. Judge, with all due respect, your personal connection to a similar case involving my client raises serious concerns about impartiality. The prosecutor folded her arms. The judge disclosed the connection. Your client waived any objection. That was before she began this line of questioning, the defense attorney argued. She's clearly using this court to address grievances outside this case. Lily listened quietly, then spoke. Counselor, every question I asked relates directly to your client's credibility regarding his claimed inability to pay. His history of similar behavior across multiple jurisdictions is relevant to determining whether his current claim is truthful. But bringing up your cousin was admittedly a slip, Lily acknowledged. But it doesn't change the facts. Your client has left a trail of unpaid support orders across the country. That speaks to his character and truthfulness when he claims he can't afford to pay. Back in the courtroom, the atmosphere had changed. Nancy Winters was whispering intensely with the prosecutor. Joey, Rita's son, remained in the back row, his face unreadable. We will continue, Lily announced. Mr. Anderson, court records show that during the period you claimed unemployment in this state, you were actually working as a contractor in Tampa, earning approximately $60,000 annually. What happened to that income? David glanced at his attorney, who nodded slightly. I had debts, David said carefully. More important than feeding your children? Objection, the defense attorney called. Argumentative. Sustained, Lily said automatically. Mr. Anderson, bank records show regular deposits to an account under your mother's name, totaling over $40,000 last year alone. Can you explain those deposits? I helped my mother out, David replied, his voice growing defensive. She's elderly. That's commendable, Lily said. However, your first legal obligation is to your minor children. As the questioning continued, David's carefully constructed story began to unravel. Text messages revealed him boasting to friends about beating the system. Photos showed expensive vacations taken during periods he claimed poverty. A former girlfriend testified that he had bragged about keeping his money where the courts can't touch it. By the end of the day, David's confident demeanor had crumbled. He avoided looking at Lily, at Nancy Winters, and especially at Joey in the back row. As Lily prepared to adjourn for the day, she made one final observation. Mr. Anderson, this court has seen many parents who genuinely struggle to meet their obligations. Parents who work multiple jobs, who sacrifice their own needs, who do everything possible to support their children despite difficult circumstances. She paused, making sure he was listening. You are not one of those parents. The gavel came down. Court is adjourned until tomorrow at 9 a.m., when we will hear closing arguments. As people filed out, Lily noticed Joey slipping away before David could see him. She understood why. Some wounds were still too fresh even after all these years. Tomorrow would bring a reckoning, not just for David Anderson, but for a system that had allowed him to escape responsibility for far too long. Morning light streamed through the tall courthouse windows as people filed into the courtroom for day 2 of the Anderson case. The wooden benches creaked under the weight of a much larger crowd than yesterday. Word had spread about the dramatic revelations, drawing curious courthouse staff and several reporters. Judge Lily Chen had barely slept. After court adjourned yesterday, she'd called her cousin Rita, feeling she needed to explain why she hadn't immediately recused herself. You did the right thing, Rita had assured her. Joey wanted to see it, needed to see it. He's carried this weight for so long, thinking maybe it was something about him that made his dad leave. Those words had kept Lily awake most of the night. How many children blamed themselves for their parents' failures? Now, as she entered the courtroom, Lily noticed David Anderson looked different today. His expensive suit had been replaced by a more modest outfit. His attorney had clearly advised him to appear less affluent. Nancy Winters sat at the prosecution table, her back straight, her eyes focused. Behind her sat 2 older women Lily hadn't seen yesterday. All rise, the bailiff called. After the formal opening, Lily addressed the courtroom. Before we hear closing arguments, I've been informed that someone wishes to address the court. She nodded toward the prosecutor. Yes, Your Honor, the prosecutor said, standing. We've had 2 additional parties come forward who believe they have relevant testimony regarding the defendant's character and history of support payments. David's attorney jumped to his feet. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. The evidence portion of the trial has concluded. Any new witnesses should have been disclosed during discovery. These individuals came forward only after yesterday's proceedings, the prosecutor explained. They weren't known to us previously. Lily considered this. I'll allow a brief interview in chambers to determine relevance. Court will recess for 30 minutes. In her chambers, Lily found herself facing 2 women she didn't recognize. One appeared to be in her 50s, the other around 40. I'm Patty Green, the older woman said without preamble. David was married to my daughter Karen before he met Rita. They had a son together, Kevin. He's 19 now. Lily carefully kept her expression neutral despite her shock. Another child? Yes, Patty nodded. He left when Kevin was 2. Promised to send money but never did. Karen worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over their heads. The second woman stepped forward. I'm Diane Wilson. I was with David before any of them, back in college. We had a daughter. I never even got a court order because he disappeared completely. Changed his name for a while, too. Called himself Robert instead of David. Lily felt the room spin slightly. 7 children. Not 5, not 6, but 7 children this man had fathered and abandoned. When both attorneys arrived for the Chambers conference, Lily made her decision. These testimonies are relevant to establishing a pattern of behavior that directly contradicts the defendant's claims. I'll allow brief statements from both witnesses. Back. In the courtroom, the atmosphere was electric as Patty and Diane took the stand, one after the other. They told similar stories, brief relationships with David, promises of love and family, then abandonment when responsibilities became real. Neither had received meaningful financial support. Both had raised children alone. David sat stone-faced during their testimony, but Lily noticed his leg bouncing nervously under the table. His attorney seemed to have run out of objections, reduced to occasional headshakes and note-taking. When the women finished, Lily thanked them for coming forward. We'll now proceed with closing arguments. The prosecutor stood, her face composed, but her voice passionate. Your Honor, what we've seen in this courtroom goes beyond a simple case of missed payments. Mr. Anderson has demonstrated a deliberate, calculated pattern of evading responsibility across 2 decades and 7 children. She held up bank statements and social media printouts. While claiming poverty to this court, he vacationed in the Bahamas. While telling Ms. Winters he couldn't afford school supplies, he purchased a fishing boat. This isn't inability to pay. It's unwillingness. The defense attorney seemed subdued when his turn came. Your Honor, while my client acknowledges past mistakes, we maintain that current economic hardships have genuinely affected his ability to meet all obligations. We request a payment plan that... A payment plan? Nancy Winters suddenly stood, her voice breaking. He's been promising payment plans for 8 years. My kids have gone without while he's been living it up. Ms. Winters, Lily said gently, I understand your frustration, but we need to maintain order. Nancy sat down, wiping tears. I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's just been so long. After both attorneys finished, Lily turned to David. Mr. Anderson, would you like to make a statement before I render my decision? David stood slowly. For the first time, he looked genuinely uncomfortable. Your Honor, I know it looks bad, but I've had struggles too. Mental health issues, financial setbacks. I never meant to hurt anyone. 7 children, Lily said quietly. 7 children you've brought into this world and then abandoned financially. Do you know their birthdays? Their favorite colors? Their hopes and dreams? David looked at the floor. Some of them. Mr. Anderson, this court has heard testimony that you referred to child support as, and I quote, a broken system designed to bleed fathers dry. Yet the evidence shows you've paid less than 10% of what you legally owe, while maintaining a lifestyle many struggling parents could only dream of. Lily paused, looking around the courtroom. She saw Patty and Diane sitting together now. She saw Nancy with her photos. And in the back, Joey had returned, this time with Rita beside him. Before I announce my decision, there's something else that needs to be addressed, Lily continued. Yesterday I mentioned knowing about your previous relationship with my cousin. The defense raised valid concerns about potential bias. She took a deep breath. I've consulted with the Judicial Ethics Committee, who confirmed that while the connection is not direct enough to mandate recusal, I should consider whether I can be truly impartial. The courtroom held its breath. David looked up hopefully, perhaps sensing an opportunity for a mistrial. I've asked another judge to review the evidence independently, Lily said. Judge Franklin has examined the records and agrees with my assessment of the facts. However, to ensure absolute fairness, I am going to let him deliver the final judgment and sentencing. A murmur ran through the courtroom as the side door opened and Judge Franklin, a respected veteran of the family court, entered. Lily stood to yield her seat. As she passed David, she paused briefly. They deserved better, she said quietly, just between them. All 7 of them. Judge Franklin took the bench and quickly reviewed his notes. Based on the overwhelming evidence presented, this court finds the defendant in willful violation of court-ordered child support obligations. Given the extensive history and pattern of evasion, standard penalties are insufficient. He looked directly at David. Mr. Anderson, you are sentenced to 6 months in county jail with eligibility for work release solely to earn money for support payments. Additionally, your wages will be garnished at the maximum legal rate, and all assets valued over $1,000 will be liquidated to pay your arrears. David's face fell as Judge Franklin continued. Furthermore, this court is referring your case to the federal prosecutor for potential charges of crossing state lines to evade support obligations, a federal offense that carries significant penalties. After the sentencing, as bailiffs led David away, Lily watched from the side of the courtroom. Nancy Winters was crying, this time from relief. Patty and Diane were exchanging contact information, and near the back, Rita had her arm around Joey's shoulders. The system hadn't failed today. For once, it had worked exactly as it should. 3 months passed since David Anderson began serving his sentence. The case had faded from local headlines, but its effects rippled outward through the lives of everyone involved. Judge Lily Chen sat in a small cafe across from the courthouse, stirring her coffee absently. The Anderson case had changed something in her. After witnessing the impact of one man's repeated abandonment of his children, she'd begun pushing for stronger enforcement measures in family court. "Penny, for your thoughts," said a voice. Lily looked up to find Nancy Winters standing beside her table, looking different than she had in court. Her hair was styled, her clothes neat, but not expensive. Most noticeably, the constant worry lines around her eyes had softened. "Nancy, hello," Lily said, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. "Please join me." Nancy sat, placing her purse carefully on the floor. "I almost didn't recognize you without your robe, Judge Chen." Lily smiled. "Please, call me Lily outside." The courtroom. A comfortable silence settled between them as Nancy ordered her own coffee. Two women who had briefly shared an intense experience, now trying to navigate a different kind of interaction. "I got the first real support payment yesterday," Nancy finally said, "from the wage garnishment." "That's good," Lily replied. "Is it helping?" Nancy nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "Ben needed new shoes for basketball, and I could just buy them. No credit card, no borrowing from my sister, I just bought them." The simplicity of the statement hit Lily hard. Such a basic thing, buying shoes for a growing child, had been out of reach for this hard-working mother. "How are the kids?" Lily asked. "They're good. Better, actually." Nancy stirred her coffee. "Ben was so angry for so long. Finding out his dad had all that money while we struggled, it hurt him deeply. But seeing the court take it seriously, seeing that someone cared enough to hold his father accountable, it's helped him heal a little." Lily nodded. "And the younger one?" "Abby's too young to understand everything, but she knows we're not struggling as much. She doesn't hear me crying at night over bills anymore." Nancy looked directly at Lily. "I didn't come here by accident, you know. I wanted to thank you." "I was just doing my job," Lily said automatically. Nancy shook her head. "No, most judges would have given him another payment plan, another chance. You saw through him. You made him face what he'd done." After Nancy left, Lily walked slowly back to the courthouse, thinking about their conversation. Near the entrance, she spotted a familiar face. Joey, her cousin Rita's son, now 17, and nearly a man. He was sitting on a bench, clearly waiting for someone. "Joey?" she called. "What brings you here?" He stood quickly, hands shoved in pockets in that awkward teenage way. "Hey, Aunt Lily. I was waiting for you, actually." They sat together on the bench in the afternoon sun. Joey seemed nervous, fidgeting with his phone case. "I've been thinking a lot since the trial," he finally said. "About him, about everything." Lily waited, giving him space to continue. "Mom told me he's been writing to her from jail, wanting to connect with me." Joey's voice had the careful neutrality of someone working hard to hide their feelings. "How do you feel about that?" Lily asked gently. Joey shrugged. Confused, mad, curious too, I guess. He looked at her sideways. Did you know he's enrolled in some parenting class in there? And a financial management thing? Lily nodded. Part of David's sentence had included mandatory counseling and classes. It was part of Judge Franklin's ruling. Do you think people can really change? Joey asked, the question hanging in the air between them. Before Lily could answer, her phone buzzed with a message from Tom, her clerk. Urgent, Anderson case development. Come to Chambers when possible. I'm sorry, Joey, I need to go check on something, she said, standing. But let's finish this conversation soon, okay? Maybe dinner at your mom's this weekend? Joey nodded, and they parted ways. In her chambers, Tom waited with a serious expression. The feds picked up the Anderson case, he said without preamble. They found evidence he's been doing this in 3 more states we didn't know about. Lily sank into her chair. More children? 2 more that they've confirmed. Both teenagers, now. And there's something else. Tom handed her a file. He was using a completely different identity in Arizona. Had a whole other life there. Lily flipped through the documents, her stomach tightening. Has he been charged? This morning, federal agents interviewed him in county jail. Tom hesitated. There's one more thing. He's requested to speak with you. With me. Why? He wouldn't say. Just that it was important. Lily's first instinct was to refuse. The case was resolved as far as she was concerned, but curiosity won out. Set it up for tomorrow. Supervised, of course. The next morning, Lily sat in a small conference room at the county jail. David Anderson was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of him. He looked thinner, his designer haircut grown out, his eyes lacking the confidence she remembered. Judge Chen, he said, sitting across from her. Thank you for coming. What do you want, Mr. Anderson? Lily kept her tone professional, despite the unusual circumstances. David looked down at his hands. I've had a lot of time to think in here. About my kids, about what I've done. 9 children, Lily said. The federal investigators found 2 more. David nodded slowly. 11, actually. There are 2 they don't know about yet. He met her eyes. I'm telling them everything now. All of it. Lily sat back, surprised by this admission. Why the change? Of heart? That day in court, he said quietly. When all those women showed up. When I saw Joey in the back. Something broke in me. I've been running so long I forgot what I was running from. Your responsibilities, Lily supplied. My fear, David corrected. My father left when I was 8. Never paid a dime, never looked back. I swore I'd never be like him, but... He shook his head. I became something worse. Lily remained silent, unwilling to offer easy absolution. I'm not asking for forgiveness, David continued, seeming to read her thoughts. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know I'm cooperating, fully with the federal prosecutors, and I've signed papers to liquidate everything. The investments, the boat, the rental properties. It should cover most of what I owe. Why tell me this? David looked up, his expression unguarded for the first time. Because you were right. They deserved better. All 11 of them deserved better, and I want to ask a favor. Lily raised an eyebrow. A favor? There's a program here. They match inmates with kids for supervised phone calls. I'd like to talk to Joey if he's willing. Not to make excuses. Just to tell him it wasn't his fault. That the failure was mine, not his. Lily studied the man across from her. Was this genuine remorse or another manipulation? The counselors would have a better read on that than she could. I'll tell him you asked, she said finally. The choice will be his. As she left the jail, Lily thought about Joey's question from yesterday. Can people really change? She didn't have a simple answer. Some did, many didn't. But as a judge, she had to believe in the possibility. Otherwise, what was the point of any of it? Her phone rang. It was Rita. "Joey told me he talked to you," her cousin said. "He's been asking questions about his father, hard questions." "He's growing up," Lily replied, trying to make sense of it all. "The thing is," Rita continued, "I never told you this, but David has been sending letters for years. I kept them all, never opened them. I thought about burning them but couldn't quite do it." Lily stopped walking. "Joey doesn't know about the letters?" "No, but maybe he should. Maybe it's time." The sun was setting as Lily drove home, the sky painted in oranges and purples. This case that had seemed so clear-cut had layers she hadn't anticipated. David's revelation about his own father, the letters Rita had kept, Joey's questions about forgiveness and change. Justice wasn't always as simple as a gavel coming down. Sometimes it was messier, more complicated, a long road of accountability, consequence, and maybe, if you were lucky, healing. 1 year later, on a bright Saturday morning, Lily Chen stood in her kitchen making coffee. She was no longer Judge Chen, at least not for today. Weekends were for family, for normal clothes, for being just Lily. The doorbell rang, and she opened it to find Rita and Joey on her doorstep. At 18, Joey now stood taller than both women, his high school graduation tassel hanging from the rearview mirror of the used car he'd bought with his own money. "Right on time," Lily said, hugging them both. "Come in. Coffee's ready." They settled in her living room, the comfortable silence of family who didn't need constant conversation to feel connected. Lily noticed Joey seemed nervous, fidgeting with his phone. "Everything okay?" she asked him. Joey looked up. "Yeah, it's just, today's the day." Lily nodded, understanding immediately. After months of consideration, counseling, and family discussions, Joey had decided to meet his father face to face. David Anderson had been released from county jail 3 months ago and was now serving the remainder of his sentence on house arrest, working full-time with all income going toward his massive child support debt. The federal case had made national headlines. Serial deadbeat dad owes support for 11 children. David had become the poster child for a broken system, and his case had prompted legislative hearings on improving child support enforcement across state lines. "Are you sure you're ready?" Rita asked her son, concern etched on her face. Joey shrugged. "Not really, but I don't think I'll ever be completely ready." "You don't have to do this," Lily reminded him. "I know." Joey looked at both women. "But I've read all his letters now, and I've talked to Ben and Abby, Nancy's kids. They've been meeting with him for a few months." This was news to Lily. "How's that going?" "Better than they expected," Joey said. "Ben says he's different now. More real, I guess." Rita sipped her coffee silently. She'd been the most hesitant about this meeting, which surprised no one. She'd carried the heaviest burden when David left, working multiple jobs while raising Joey alone. "I'll be right outside." "The whole time," Rita said finally. "The counselor thinks an hour is enough for the first meeting." Lily set down her cup. "I have something for you, Joey, before you go." She retrieved a small wooden box from her study and handed it to him. "I've been collecting these." Joey opened the box to find newspaper clippings, court transcripts, and printed emails. He looked at Lily questioningly. "It's the impact of your father's case," she explained. "These are stories from other families who finally received support after their cases were reopened because of the publicity. That letter on top is from a woman in Oregon whose ex-husband paid 16 years of back support after seeing David on the news." Joey read silently, his eyes widening. "There are dozens here." 37 families so far," Lily said. "The system is far from perfect, but your father's case shook things up, created pressure for change." Joey carefully closed the box. "Can I show him these? Today?" Lily hesitated, then nodded. "If you want to. It's yours now." Later, as they prepared to leave, Lily hugged Joey tightly. "Remember what Dr. Powell said? You're not responsible for his feelings. You're just there to speak your truth." "I know," Joey said. I'm not looking for a dad anymore. I'm too old for that. I just want, I don't know, answers maybe. As Rita and Joey drove away, Lily felt the weight of the past year. The Anderson case had changed the trajectory of her career. She'd been appointed to a special judicial committee on family court reform, advocating for better coordination between states and stronger enforcement measures. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Tom, her former clerk who was now working for the district attorney's office. Turn on Channel 8. They're covering the legislation. Lily switched on her television to see a news reporter standing outside the state capitol. Today, Governor Wilson signed the Family Support Accountability Act, often called Anderson's Law, after the high-profile case that inspired it. The new law creates a multi-state database of support orders and strengthens penalties for parents who cross state lines to avoid payments. The camera cut to Nancy Winters standing with her children, now older and more confident-looking. This won't get back all the years of struggle, Nancy was saying, but it might stop other families from going through what we did. Lily felt a surge of pride mixed with something bittersweet. The system had worked, eventually, but not before. Years of hardship for so many children. Her phone rang again. This time it was Judge Franklin, her colleague, who had delivered the final ruling in the Anderson case. You watching this? He asked when she answered. Yes, Lily replied. Hard to believe what's come from that one case. Not the case, Franklin corrected. Your courage in not recusing yourself when you recognized him. Most judges would have stepped away. Lily had never thought of it as courage. She'd simply been following her instinct for justice. An hour later, her phone buzzed with a text from Rita. It's done. Heading to your place. When they arrived, Joey looked drained but calm. The three sat at Lily's kitchen table, a plate of untouched cookies between them. How did it go? Lily finally asked. Joey took a deep breath. Weird. Hard. Good, maybe? He cried when I walked in. What did you talk about? She asked gently. I asked him why. Why he left. Why he kept having kids he didn't support. Joey's voice was steady. He said after the first time, it got easier. To walk away. That he convinced himself the women would be fine, the kids would be fine. Were you able to tell him how it affected you? Lily asked. Joey nodded. I told him about Mom working all those extra shifts, about having to wear the same shoes until they had holes because we couldn't afford new ones, about watching other kids' dads at baseball games. Rita reached over to squeeze her son's hand. I showed him the box of clippings too, Joey continued. That really got to him. He kept saying he never thought about the bigger picture about how many families go through this. Lily noticed something had shifted in Joey. A certain tension he'd carried as long as she'd known him had eased, not disappeared but lightened. Will you see him again, she asked. Joey considered the question. Maybe. Not right away. He's still got a lot to prove. He looked at his mother. And we're doing fine without him. Rita smiled, her eyes bright, with unshed tears. Yes, we are. That evening, after they'd gone, Lily sat on her porch watching the sunset. Her phone pinged with an email, another judge seeking advice about a complex support case. A year ago, she would have seen it as just another file, another day in court. Now she saw the people behind it, the mothers, the fathers, and most importantly, the children. The Anderson case had started with a shock of recognition across a courtroom. It had ended with something more meaningful, recognition of the humanity in a broken system and a first step toward fixing it. For Lily, that was justice in its truest form.